Augusta was shocked to her bones, only to come back to Africa to find her children hawking on the streets. The first thing Augusta saw was the transparent white bowl. Inside it were buns wrapped in nylon and sachet water stacked like tiny pillows. And behind that bowl, two small faces she had only seen on video calls since they were grown. Emmy and Daniel, her twins. They were not in a school uniform. They were not holding books. They were standing at the edge of a busy Lagos road, shouting in tired voices, "Buy buns! Cold water!" Augusta's throat closed, her eyes went blur. Then a bus honked loudly. Emmy rushed forward, stretching her arm out with the bowl. Daniel followed barefoot, eyes sharp, like he had learnt how to watch danger. A car almost brushed his shoulder. Augusta screamed, "Daniel!" Daniel flinched and turned. For half a second his eyes met hers. But there was no joy in his face. There was only fear, like he was looking at a stranger. And then it happened. A large hand grabbed Daniel's arm and yanked him back. A man's voice snapped, "Are you okay? You want to die in this road?" Augusta stood still, because she knew that voice. She had not heard it in years, but she knew it. Her knees went weak. David turned to her quickly. "Augusta." "What's wrong?" Augusta could not answer. The man pulled Daniel behind him like property. Emmy lowered the bowl and stepped back. Then the man looked up, and his eyes locked on Augusta. His face changed, his lips parted, like he had seen a ghost. "Augusta," he whispered. Augusta's heart slammed hard in her chest. Because the man standing there, holding her son like a warning, was the same boy who once denied her pregnancy, saying she wants to trap him. And now he was standing on a Lagos road, with her children, and he was calling her name. Everything was not adding up in her head. Few years ago, when Augusta was in her 100 level in school, people used to turn their heads when she walked past, not because she was proud, not because she was rude, but because she was beautiful in a gentle way, clear skin, bright eyes, calm smile. Her parents were not rich, but they tried. Her mother, Christiana, sold fabrics in Lagos. Her father worked hard and spoke little. They loved Augusta, but they also had big hopes. "School first," Christiana always said. "Your future is bigger than boyfriends." Augusta agreed. At least she tried to. Then she met the boy. His name was not important then, because he looked like every other confident young man. He talked like he knew life. He promised things he could not afford. He said, "When I make it, I will marry you. I will make you proud." Augusta believed him, not because she was foolish, because she was young and he sounded sure. Then one day Augusta realized her body was changing. She was always tired. Food smells made her feel sick. She checked again and again, hoping she was wrong. But she was not wrong. She was pregnant. When she told him, his face went cold. He did not shout. He did not cry. He simply stepped back, like she had become a problem. "Don't put this on me," he said. Augusta blinked. "What do you mean?" He shook his head. "You want to trap me. That's what you want." Augusta's mouth opened, but no words came. Trap him? With her own life? With her own future? She begged him to talk to her parents. He refused. She asked him to help her. He blocked her number. And just like that, her life split into two. The old Augusta, the schoolgirl with hope, and the new Augusta, the girl with a growing belly and fear in her chest. When her parents found out, their disappointment was loud, not because they did not love her, but because they knew Lagos can be cruel. Christiana cried. Her father went quiet for days. "We warned you," Christiana kept saying. "We warned you." Augusta tried to continue school, but it became hard. People whispered. Money became tight. Her belly grew bigger. Her mind grew heavier. She dropped out. It was not the plan. But life does not always ask you what you planned. 9 months later, Augusta gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, Daniel and Emmy. The hospital bill was a mountain. The night was long. The babies cried like they were asking, "So what now?" Augusta looked at them and promised, "I will not fail you." But promises are easier to say than to keep in Lagos, when there is no money. She stayed with her parents. Christiana helped, but she complained often. "Do you know what people are saying?" she would mutter while washing baby clothes. "Do you know how this looks?" Augusta would swallow her tears and keep rocking her babies. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. The twins started walking. Then food became the new problem. Diapers became the new problem. Hospital visits became the new problem. And Augusta began to feel like she was drowning quietly. One afternoon, an old friend came to see her. The friend looked sharper than before, wearing nice shoes and speaking fast. "Augusta, I'm not here to judge you," she said. "I'm here to tell you something." Augusta's eyes filled. "Tell me what?" "There is a way out," the friend whispered. "Italy." Augusta stared. "Italy?" "Yes, people are going. Work is there. Money is there." Augusta looked at her children playing on the floor. "They are only one," Augusta said softly. "How will I carry them?" "You will leave them with your parents," the friend said, as if it was easy. "You go, hustle, and send money. It will change everything." Augusta felt her chest tighten. Leave her children. The thought hurt, but the thought of staying and watching them suffer hurt too. Her friend leaned closer. "The journey is by road, through Libya." Augusta had heard stories. Some people returned with haunted eyes. Some people did not return at all. She shook her head. "It is dangerous." The friend nodded. "Yes. But poverty is also dangerous. You choose the danger you can fight." That night, Augusta did not sleep. She watched Emmy sleeping with her mouth slightly open. She watched Daniel clutching a small cloth like it was treasure. She imagined their future if she stayed with nothing. She imagined their future if she left and somehow made it. In the morning, she told Christiana. Her mother's face changed quickly, fear first, then calculation. "You want to leave?" Christiana asked. Augusta's voice shook. "I want to save my children." Christiana sighed and sat down. "If you go, you must send money. You must not forget us here." Augusta nodded fast. "I won't, I swear." Her father did not speak much, but he looked at Augusta for a long time. Then he said one sentence. "If you go, come back with your full mind. Don't let the world break you." Augusta held those words tight. A week later, she hugged her twins so hard they started crying. Emmy clung to her neck. Daniel held her finger. Augusta whispered, "I'm going to bring light to our house, I promise." Then she left. The road journey was not a journey, it was suffering with footsteps. In the desert, heat sat on people's heads like fire from the sky. Water finished quickly. Some men shouted at others, some people fought over bread. At night, the cold bit hard and fear kept everyone awake. In Libya, Augusta saw things she never thought human beings could do to each other. People were treated like items. Some were cheated, some were threatened. Some were locked in crowded places and told, "Call your family, pay, or you stay here." Augusta had no one to call. So she begged. She worked small jobs for anyone who would allow her. She cleaned, she carried, she endured insults. Then came the sea crossing. The boat was overcrowded. The water looked endless. People prayed in whispers. A baby cried until the mother covered the baby's mouth gently, begging the baby to be quiet, not because she hated her child, because fear was everywhere. Augusta held onto the edge and told herself, "Don't faint. Don't fall. Think of Emmy. Think of Daniel." Somebody beside her kept saying, "God, please." Another person kept vomiting over the side. Augusta closed her eyes and stayed strong. When she finally reached Italy, her body was tired, but her spirit was still standing. She hustled like a person chasing her own life. She washed dishes. She cleaned houses. She learned small words in a new language. She sent money home. At first, Christiana's calls were sweet. "God bless you, my daughter," she would say on video. "The children are fine." Emmy would wave. Daniel would wave. They would smile at the screen. Augusta would cry and laugh at the same time. Then God gave her a new turning. She met David, a kind foreign man who did not look down on her, a man who listened, truly listened, when she told her story. A man who said, "You're not a bad person, you're a survivor." Love entered her life slowly, like careful footsteps. It grew into marriage. It grew into peace. They later moved to Canada, and Augusta's life began to look like a miracle. But even in Canada, she never forgot Lagos. Every month, she sent money. Every week she called. And Christiana always said the same thing: they are okay. So when Augusta planned a surprise visit back to Lagos with David, she believed her mother. She imagined screams of joy. She imagined Emmy and Daniel running into her arms. She imagined the whole compound celebrating. But instead, she saw her children hawking on the road. And now, the man holding Daniel's arm was staring at her like she was the problem. His mouth moved again, voice low and sharp. "So you're back," he said. Augusta took one step forward, shaking. David looked between them. "Augusta, who is that?" Augusta's eyes stayed on the man. Her voice came out like broken glass. "Their father," she whispered, and the man tightened his grip on Daniel's arm and said something that made Augusta's blood run cold. "If you want these children, you will listen to me first." And at that exact moment, Emmy's bowl slipped from her hands, and the sachet water scattered on the hot Lagos road as a bus sped closer. The bus screeched to a stop just inches away from the scattered sachet water. People shouted, drivers cursed, someone yelled, "Are you blind?" Emmy froze in the middle of the road, her small feet planted like roots. Augusta screamed again, "Emmy!" Before anyone else moved, Augusta ran. She dropped her bag. She did not see the cars. She did not hear the noise. All she saw was her daughter. She grabbed Emmy and pulled her back hard, hugging her tight like she wanted to enter the child's body. Emmy burst into tears. Daniel shouted, "Mama!" That single word cut Augusta deep. Mama. Not auntie. Not madam. Mama. David rushed forward too, standing in front of them like a wall, his face tight with fear. "Everyone move back," he said loudly, his voice calm but firm. People stepped away, murmuring. The man who had grabbed Daniel, his father, looked annoyed. He released Daniel's arm slowly. "Drama," he muttered. "You like causing scenes." Augusta stood up, her hands shaking, Emmy still pressed against her chest. She looked at Daniel. The boy stood a little away, eyes full of questions. He was taller than the last time she saw him on screen. Thinner too. Too thin. Daniel, she whispered. He took one small step forward, then he stopped. He looked back at the man, as if waiting for permission. That broke something inside Augusta. She turned sharply to the man. "Why are my children on the road?" she asked, her voice shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. He scoffed. "Ask your mother." Augusta's head snapped around. Her eyes searched the area wildly, and then she saw her. Christiana stood a few steps away, holding a nylon bag, frozen like someone caught stealing. Their eyes met. Christiana's face drained of color. "Mummy," Augusta said. People started whispering. "Is that her?" "That's the woman abroad." "Those are her children." David looked confused. "Christiana," he asked gently, "why are the kids here?" Christiana opened her mouth, closed it, then sighed heavily. "Let us not do this here," she said quickly. "People are watching." Augusta laughed once, sharp and painful. "People have always been watching," she said. "That did not stop you from putting my children on the road." Christiana's eyes filled with tears, but she did not deny it. The man crossed his arms. "If you want to talk, talk fast. We have work to do." Augusta turned to him slowly. "Work?" she repeated. "You call this work?" He shrugged. "Food does not fall from the sky." Augusta's hands clenched into fists. "David," she said without looking back, "please take the kids to the car." Daniel looked unsure. Emmy clung to Augusta's dress. "It's okay," Augusta said softly, forcing a smile. "Go with Uncle David." David bent down. "You're safe," he said gently. "I promise." Daniel hesitated, then he took David's hand. As they walked away, Augusta felt like someone was tearing her heart in two. She turned back to Christiana. "Explain," Augusta said, slowly. Clearly, Christiana wiped her face with the edge of her wrapper. "At first, it was not like this," she said. "When you started sending money, everything was fine." Augusta nodded. "So what changed?" Christiana hesitated. The man laughed dryly. "She started using the money for other things." Augusta's eyes widened. "What other things?" Christiana snapped. "Don't talk." He smiled. "Why not?" "Let her hear." Christiana's shoulders slumped. "The money reduced," she said quietly. "Dollar rate went up. Things became expensive." Augusta swallowed. "I still sent something every month." "Yes," Christiana said, "but it was not enough for everything." Augusta's voice trembled. "So you sent my children to hawk?" "At first it was small," Christiana said quickly. "Just evening time, buns and water. I was always watching them." Augusta's face twisted in pain. "Watching them on the road?" she asked. Christiana raised her voice. "What choice did I have?" Augusta stared at her mother, not recognizing her. "Did you call me?" Augusta asked softly. "Did you tell me it was this bad?" Christiana looked away. "I did not want to worry you," she said. The man laughed again. "That's a lie." Christiana glared at him. "Keep quiet." He stepped closer. "You did not tell her because you were enjoying the money. And when it was not enough, you found a way to add more." Augusta felt dizzy. "Add more how?" she asked. The man pointed at the road. "Children sell well. People buy fast." Augusta's knees almost gave way. She leaned against a parked car. "Why are you here?" she asked him. "After denying them, after disappearing. Why are you suddenly here?" He smiled slowly. "Because I heard money was coming from abroad." Augusta's breath caught. "So you came back," she said, "not because of them, but because of money." He did not deny it. I am their father, he said simply. I have rights. Augusta laughed, but tears poured down her face. Rights? She repeated. Where were your rights when I begged you? When I carried them alone? He shrugged again. Life happened. Augusta shook her head. No, she said, you happened. Christiana stepped between them. Please, she begged, let us calm down. Augusta looked at her mother with deep hurt. You lied to me on video calls, she said. You smiled. You waved them at the camera while they were learning how to dodge cars. Christiana broke down crying. I was ashamed. Augusta closed her eyes. When she opened them, her voice was quiet but firm. This ends today, she said. The man laughed. You think you can just take them? Yes, Augusta said. I can. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You cannot, he said, because they belong here. And if you try to take them, I will show you something you will not like. David returned at that moment, holding Daniel and Emmy's hands. What's going on? He asked. The man turned to him. This is family matter. David straightened. Those are my wife's children, he said, and they are coming with us. The man smiled coldly. Not without my permission, he said. Augusta felt fear crawl up her spine. Why? She asked. He leaned in and whispered words that made her blood freeze. Because their papers are not clean, and because someone has already reported something about you. Augusta's heart stopped. Reported what? She asked. Before he could answer, a woman nearby shouted, Police! Augusta turned sharply. 2 uniformed officers were walking toward them, their faces serious. The man smiled wider. Christiana gasped. David tightened his grip on the children. One of the officers raised his hand. Madam, he said, looking at Augusta, we need to ask you a few questions. Augusta's ears rang. Questions? About what? She pulled Emmy closer instinctively. The officer looked down at the children. Are these your kids? He asked. Augusta opened her mouth to answer, but the man spoke first. No, he said calmly, they are mine. And that single lie dropped like fire between them. The word mine hung in the air like a slap. Augusta felt it before she understood it. No, she said quickly, her voice sharp. That is a lie. The police officer looked from the man to Augusta. Madam, he said calmly, everyone will speak one by one. Daniel's small fingers tightened around David's hand. Emmy pressed her face into Augusta's dress. Augusta bent slightly and touched her daughter's hair. Look at me, she whispered. You are safe. But her heart was beating too fast. The officer turned to the man. What is your name? He gave it without fear. Then the officer turned back to Augusta. Madam, what is your name? Augusta, she replied. Augusta Williams. The officer nodded and wrote it down. You said these are your children, the officer said to Augusta. Yes, Augusta replied. I gave birth to them. I raised them until I traveled to work. The man laughed softly. She traveled and abandoned them. Augusta spun toward him. I did not abandon them. I sent money. I called every week. Christiana stood behind them, shaking. The officer looked at Christiana. Madam, you are the grandmother? Christiana nodded slowly. And these children live with you? Yes, Christiana said. The officer rubbed his chin. So why were they selling things on the road? Christiana opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The man answered instead. Because nobody was taking care of them properly. Augusta stared at him in disbelief. You? She asked. You that disappeared? The officer raised his hand. Enough. People had gathered now. Phones were coming out. Someone whispered, "This is serious." The officer looked at Augusta again. "Madam, do you have proof these children are yours?" Augusta's stomach tightened. "Proof?" She nodded quickly. "Yes." "Their birth papers are at home." The man smiled. "At home where? Abroad?" Augusta's mouth went dry. David stepped forward. "Officer," he said politely, "we just arrived today. The documents are in our luggage." The officer looked at him. "And you are?" "David," he replied, "her husband." The officer's eyes narrowed slightly. "Are you Nigerian?" "No," David answered honestly. The officer exhaled slowly. "All right," he said, "everyone will calm down. We will go to the station to sort this out." Augusta's heart dropped. "The station?" she asked. "Why?" "Because there is a dispute over children," the officer said, "and there has been a report." Augusta turned sharply to the man. "What report?" He did not answer. He just smiled. Christiana suddenly dropped to her knees. "Please," she cried, "please, officer. This is family matter." The officer looked uncomfortable. "Madam, stand up," he said gently. "Let us not create another issue." Christiana stood slowly, tears running down her face. "I made mistakes," she sobbed, "but please don't take the children." Augusta felt torn in two. "Mummy," she said, her voice breaking, "why didn't you tell me?" Christiana shook her head. "I was afraid you would stop sending money." That sentence hurt more than the road, more than the hawking, more than the lie. Augusta closed her eyes for 1 second. When she opened them, something had changed. Her voice became steady. "Officer," she said, "I will go anywhere you want. But my children are not leaving my sight." The officer nodded. "That is fine." The man suddenly stepped closer. "You don't get it," he said quietly. "These children have been here for years. They know this place. You cannot just take them abroad." Augusta looked at him slowly. "I am their mother." "And I am their father," he replied. "You denied them," Augusta said. "I am here now," he said. Daniel spoke suddenly. Everyone turned. "I know my mama," Daniel said softly. Augusta's breath caught. "I see her on the phone," Daniel continued. "She sends us food money." The officer looked down at him. "Young man, do you know this man?" Daniel hesitated, then shook his head. "He shouts." The crowd murmured. The man's face tightened. "Children lie." Emmy looked up and said quietly, "Mama cries on phone." Augusta's eyes filled instantly. David bent down beside them. "You're doing well," he whispered. The officer cleared his throat. "All right, we will all go to the station." They started walking toward the patrol vehicle. Augusta held Emmy's hand tightly. David held Daniel. Christiana walked behind them, shoulders bent with shame. The man walked confidently beside the officer. At the station, they were taken into a small room. Plastic chairs, a table, a fan that barely moved air. The officer sat and began asking questions again. "When did you leave Nigeria?" he asked Augusta. 4 years ago, she replied. "And since then?" "I worked," Augusta said. "I sent money every month." The officer turned to Christiana. "Did you receive money?" "Yes," Christiana said quietly. The officer turned to the man. "When did you return to their lives?" He crossed his legs. "Recently." "Why?" the officer asked. The man smiled. "I wanted to know my children." Augusta laughed bitterly. After hearing money was coming, the officer raised his hand again. "Madam," he said to Augusta, "there is an issue." "What issue?" she asked. There was a report that these children were being prepared to be taken out of the country without proper agreement, the officer said. Augusta's head spun. What? She gasped. The man leaned back. Exactly. David stood up. This is not true, he said firmly. We have done nothing illegal. The officer looked at him. Sir, please sit. David sat, jaw tight. Augusta felt cold fear spread in her chest. Who made the report? She asked. The officer hesitated, then said, The children's father. Augusta turned slowly to the man. You did this, she whispered. He shrugged. I am protecting my rights. Augusta stood up. Her legs were shaking, but she stood. You denied them food, she said. You denied them safety. Now you want to deny them their mother. The officer cleared his throat again. Madam, sit down. Augusta did not sit. You will not take my children from me again, she said. The officer's face hardened slightly. Madam, he said, if this escalates, child services will get involved. That word hit Augusta like a stone. Child services. David looked at her sharply. Christiana began to cry again. The man smiled wider. See, he said softly, this is bigger than you think. The officer stood up. For now, he said, the children will remain here until we finish our checks. Augusta's knees almost gave way. Here, she asked, without me? The officer paused. They will stay with the grandmother, he said. Augusta's heart dropped. No, she said immediately, not after what I just saw. The officer looked uncomfortable again. The man leaned forward and said the words that made Augusta's blood run cold. Or they can stay with me. The room went silent. Augusta looked at Daniel, at Emmy, at Christiana, at the man she once trusted. And in that silence, she realized something terrifying. This fight was no longer about money. It was about control. And someone was already winning. Augusta's heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone in the room could hear it. No, she said again, louder this time. My children will not stay with him. The man leaned back on the chair and crossed his arms, calm and confident, like someone who knew he was holding the winning card. You don't decide that alone, he replied. This is Lagos, not Canada. David stood up immediately. You will not threaten my wife, he said, his voice firm. The officer raised his hand. Sir, please sit. David sat, but his jaw was tight. The officer turned to Augusta. Madam, I understand your emotions, he said, but we must follow procedure. Augusta swallowed hard. Procedure did not protect my children on the road, she said quietly. The officer avoided her eyes. Christiana wiped her face with her wrapper. Augusta, please, she begged. Let me take them home. I promise no more hawking. Augusta looked at her mother for a long time. Mummy, she said softly, you promised me before. Christiana broke down again. I was afraid, she cried. Everything became too much. Augusta felt tired down to her bones. She sat slowly, pulling Emmy onto her lap. Daniel moved closer to her, standing between her knees. Officer, Augusta said, forcing herself to stay calm. What exactly is the problem now? The officer cleared his throat. The report says the children were at risk of being taken out of Nigeria without consent from both parents. Augusta turned sharply to the man. You denied them. Now you remember consent? He smiled thinly. I have changed. You have not, Augusta replied. You just found a new way to hurt us. David leaned forward. Officer, he said, we came for a visit, nothing more. We planned to surprise the family. The officer nodded slowly. I understand, but until we confirm documents, nobody travels. Augusta nodded. Fine, I am not running. The man raised his eyebrow. Then let the children stay with me. No, Augusta and David said together. Christiana shook her head quickly. No, no, she added, they will stay with me. The officer looked stressed. He stood and walked a few steps away, speaking quietly to another officer. Augusta used that moment to kneel in front of her children. Listen to me, she whispered, holding their faces gently. No matter what happens, you do not leave my side without me knowing. Do you understand? Daniel nodded seriously. Emmy nodded too, her eyes wide. Mama, Emmy asked softly, are we going back on the road? Augusta's chest tightened. No, she said firmly, never again. The officer returned. For now, he said, the children will remain with the grandmother. But Augusta stood up sharply. No. The room froze. I will not agree to that, Augusta said, her voice calm but unbreakable. The officer frowned. Madam, I am not shouting, Augusta said. I am stating my boundary. David stood beside her. They stay with us, he said, in a hotel. Under our care. The man laughed. You see arrogance. Augusta turned to him. You see fear because you are losing control. The officer rubbed his forehead. This case is becoming complicated, he said. Because you are letting him control the story, Augusta replied. The officer looked surprised. What proof does he have? Augusta continued. None. No school fees receipts, no hospital records, nothing. The man opened his mouth, then closed it. The officer noticed. Do you have any proof of care? The officer asked him. He hesitated. I provided support. When? The officer asked. The man did not answer. Silence filled the room. Christiana looked down. The officer exhaled slowly. Madam Augusta, he said, I will allow the children to stay with you tonight, but tomorrow you must return with documents. Augusta's knees almost gave way with relief. Thank you, she whispered. The man's face darkened. This is not over, he said. Augusta looked straight at him. It never started for you. You left. David held Augusta's hand tightly as they walked out of the station with the children. Outside, the sun was still bright. Cars moved. Life continued. But nothing felt normal. At the hotel, Augusta sat on the bed with Emmy and Daniel between her and David. The room was quiet, too quiet. Daniel broke the silence. Mama, he asked, why does that man shout? Augusta took a deep breath. Because he is angry inside, she said gently, but that is not your problem. Emmy leaned against her. Are we sleeping here? Yes, Augusta said, together. Emmy smiled for the first time that day. That night, Augusta did not sleep. She watched her children breathe. She thought of every sacrifice, every step on that long road, every tear on video calls she hid with smiles. David spoke softly beside her. We will fight this properly. Augusta nodded. I know. Her phone vibrated, a message, unknown number. She opened it. You think one night changes anything? Tomorrow will shock you. Her hands trembled. David noticed. What is it? Augusta showed him the phone. David's face hardened. He sent this. Augusta nodded. Before David could respond, another message came in. Check your mother's house. Augusta's heart stopped. She stood up immediately. David, she said, panic rising, we need to go now. Where? David asked. To my mother's house, Augusta replied. Something is wrong. They hurried the children into the car. As they drove through Lagos streets, Augusta kept calling Christiana. No answer. Her chest felt tight. They finally reached the house. The gate was open, too open. Augusta jumped out of the car and ran inside. "Mummy," she shouted. No response. The living room was empty. Furniture shifted. Drawers open. Her stomach dropped. Then she heard voices from the back. Men's voices. She froze. David came up behind her, whispering, "Stay here." But Augusta did not listen. She moved closer, and then she saw it. Christiana sat on the floor, shaking. Two men stood over her, and standing between them was the children's father. He turned slowly, smiled, and said, "I told you tomorrow would shock you." Augusta did not scream. For a moment, she could not even breathe. Her mother, Christiana, sat on the bare floor, her wrapper loose, her hands shaking. One side of her face was swollen. The room looked scattered, like fear had walked through it. "Mummy," Augusta whispered, rushing forward. Christiana lifted her head slowly. When she saw Augusta, she broke down crying. "I am sorry," she kept saying. "I am so sorry." David stepped in front of Augusta at once, placing a hand out like a shield. "What is this?" he asked firmly. "What do you think you are doing?" The children's father laughed softly, the kind of laugh that had no joy in it. "I am only making things clear," he said. "You people think money from abroad gives you power." Augusta's hands trembled, but her voice came out steady. "You sent men to scare my mother," she said. "Is that how a father behaves?" He shrugged. "I warned you." David turned sharply to the two men. "Leave, now." They hesitated and looked at the man. "Go," he snapped. The men walked out quickly. Silence filled the house. Augusta knelt beside her mother and held her. "Mummy, did he hurt you?" she asked. Christiana nodded slowly. "He said if I talk, things will get worse." Augusta closed her eyes. Something inside her hardened, not with anger, but with strength. She stood up and faced the man. "You think fear controls people," Augusta said. "But you forgot something." He raised an eyebrow. "What?" "I survived hunger," she said. "I survived the desert. I survived the sea. I survived shame. You cannot scare me." David took out his phone. "I recorded everything from when we entered," he said calmly. "Your threats, the men, everything." The man's smile faded for the first time. "That means nothing," he said quickly. "It means a lot," David replied, "and we are done talking." Within an hour, people arrived. Neighbors, community leaders, and later officers. This time the story was clear: the road hawking, the threats, the false report, the intimidation. Daniel stood close to Augusta, holding her dress. Emmy sat quietly beside David. Christiana told the truth this time, all of it. There was no shouting, no drama, just truth standing where lies once lived. By morning the decision was made. The children would stay with Augusta. The man was warned strongly and restricted from interference until proper family review was completed. He looked at Augusta one last time, anger and regret fighting on his face. "You think you won," he said. Augusta looked at her children, then back at him. "This was never a game," she said. "These are lives." Days later, Augusta sat in a quiet Lagos room with her children sleeping beside her. Daniel slept peacefully, no fear in his face. Emmy smiled in her sleep. David sat across from her, watching them. "You were brave," he said softly. Augusta shook her head. "I was desperate once. Now I am responsible." Christiana sat nearby, quieter than before, shame resting on her shoulders. "I failed you," she said. Augusta looked at her mother. "Yes," she replied gently, "but today you told the truth. That matters." Christiana nodded, tears falling again. I forgot what mattered, she said. I chose pride over protection. Augusta reached for her hand. Let us choose better from now. Weeks later, the twins were enrolled in school. Uniforms replaced bowls. Books replaced sachet water. Laughter replaced fear. People in the neighborhood whispered again, but this time with respect. Her daughter came back strong. Those children are lucky. Augusta stood one evening, watching Emmy read aloud while Daniel counted numbers. She thought of her journey. She thought of every choice, and she understood something clearly. Money can leave. Distance can confuse people, but responsibility never travels away. It stays. This story teaches us something simple but powerful. Poverty is dangerous, but silence is worse. Family support must protect, not exploit. A parent's duty does not end with distance. Children are not tools for survival. They are lives to be guided. Truth may take time, but it always finds its voice. Augusta learned that leaving was not her biggest mistake. Trusting without checking was. Christiana learned that shame grows when truth is hidden. The man learned that denying responsibility does not erase it. And the children learned the most important lesson of all, that love fights, that safety matters, and that no matter how far a mother travels, a true mother never forgets where her heart belongs. If you loved this story, kindly subscribe to this channel right now, hit that like button, and in the comments tell us, what lesson did you learn from this story? Turn on notifications so you never miss our stories. Share this video with your friends and family. Thank you for watching and see you in the next interesting story, bestie.